He left her for her best friend, not knowing she'd just inherited $80 million. This is the story of Evelyn Moore, a woman they called weak, a mother they abandoned, and the millionaire they never saw coming. Because sometimes, losing everything is how you win it all. Sparkle, subscribe, drop a hello in the comments, and tell us where you're watching from. Because this isn't just a story about revenge. It's about redemption, love, and quiet power. The morning Evelyn Moore woke up, something inside her already felt different, though she didn't yet know why. She rolled out of bed before sunrise, as she'd done every day for 12 years, to check on her son Noah. The gentle hum of his medical machines filled the small apartment, steady and familiar. Noah, 11 years old and born with cerebral palsy, could not speak, but his dark eyes followed his mother everywhere. "Good morning, sweetheart," Evelyn whispered, brushing his hair back. His lips curved faintly. It was his way of saying he was happy she was near. Evelyn's back ached from another sleepless night, turning him every few hours, making sure he didn't get sores. Across the hall, the guest room door was closed. Damien's room. Her husband hadn't slept beside her in months. He said he needed quiet to function at work, that the sound of the ventilator and alarms made it impossible to rest. Evelyn tried to believe him at first, but lately the excuses sounded colder, more like distance than fatigue. She sighed, poured water into the coffee machine, and tried not to look at the thick envelope the mailman had dropped on the counter the day before. It looked official, but after years of medical bills, she couldn't face another demand for money. She told herself she'd open it later, after breakfast, after getting Noah ready for therapy. At 6:45 a.m., Damien appeared, already dressed in a navy suit Evelyn didn't recognize. His tie was perfect, his cologne sharp enough to sting her tired senses. "You're up early," she said softly, handing him a mug. "Big day." He didn't meet her eyes. "Something like that," he muttered, checking his phone. Evelyn noticed the faint tremor in his hand, the same one he got when he was nervous or lying. "We need to talk tonight," he said flatly. "About us. About Noah." Before she could answer, a horn sounded outside. She glanced through the curtain and froze. A silver sedan waited at the curb. Behind the wheel sat Leah Carter, her best friend since childhood, the woman who'd been there for every hospital stay, who'd cried with her when Noah was diagnosed. Leah waved. Damien grabbed his briefcase. "Leah's giving me a lift," he said quickly, already moving toward the door. "My car's in the shop." Evelyn opened her mouth, but the words stuck. Through the window, she watched him climb into the passenger seat, watched Leah's hand brush his cheek, watched them kiss, as if they'd been waiting years to be caught. The mug slipped from Evelyn's hand and shattered against the tile. Noah made a soft cry from his room, sensing her pain. She knelt beside him, whispering, "It's okay, baby. It's okay," though she didn't believe it. She held him until the shaking in her chest slowed, until all that was left was a hollow quiet and the envelope still waiting on the counter. By the time the sun was high, Evelyn had gathered enough strength to call her neighbor, Mrs. Drew, to watch Noah that evening. She knew what Damien's words meant. "We need to talk," had never led to anything good in their 12 years of marriage. He came home around 7, and to Evelyn's disbelief, Leah walked in behind him, wearing perfume Evelyn had gifted her last Christmas. Evelyn stood still, her palms pressed against the kitchen counter. "Leah," she asked quietly, "what are you doing here?" Leah smiled nervously. "I didn't want this to be awkward, but we owe you honesty." Evelyn blinked, her stomach twisting. Damien's voice cut through the air. "Evelyn, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. You've made our whole life about Noah. There's nothing left for me." Her breath caught. "He's our son, Damien," she said, her voice trembling. "He needs us, both of us." "No," Damien said sharply. "He needs you. I need a life that doesn't revolve around hospital visits and machines." Leah touched his arm. Evelyn flinched. "We didn't plan this," Leah began, eyes glassy. "But Damien and we fell in love." Evelyn's laugh was hollow. "Love? You mean convenience? You were supposed to be my sister, Leah. You promised me you'd always stand by me." Damien set down a folder filled with documents. "I've already spoken to a lawyer," he said coldly. This is the divorce agreement. I'm signing away all parental rights to Noah. I can't do this anymore. Evelyn stared at the papers, unable to breathe. You're abandoning your own child, she whispered. He's 11 years old, Damien. He didn't look at her. I'm saving myself. Leah's eyes darted between them. Maybe this is for the best, she murmured. Evelyn's hands clenched. The best? For who? For the man who can't handle love that requires work? For the woman who steals what doesn't belong to her? Her voice rose. You're both cowards. Damien's face hardened. You'll keep the apartment, he said. I'll send the minimal support the law requires. I'm done pretending we're a family. Evelyn picked up a pen, her body trembling as she signed. When it was done, she looked at the two people who had once been her world and said quietly, You think you've won. But someday, you'll understand what you've thrown away. She closed the door behind them, the sound echoing like a final heartbeat. Noah stirred in his bed, and Evelyn went to him, stroking his hand. It's just you and me now, my love, she whispered. Then her eyes fell on the unopened envelope. For reasons she couldn't explain, she tore it open, and the world shifted beneath her feet. Evelyn's hands shook as she unfolded the thick letter. She expected another bill, another reminder of struggle, but the words stopped her breath. Dear Ms. Evelyn Moore, we regret to inform you of the passing of Mrs. Celia Bennett. Evelyn blinked. Her grandmother? The one her father had cut off decades ago? The letter continued. As per her will, you are the sole heir to her estate valued at approximately $80 million. Evelyn sat down hard, the paper trembling in her grip. 80 what? She whispered aloud. It listed 12 commercial buildings, 8 luxury homes, and accounts that would pay her hundreds of thousands monthly. She covered her mouth, tears flooding her eyes. Mama, she whispered to the photo of her late mother on the wall. You said Grandma was stubborn, not rich. Noah made a soft sound from his bed, as if asking what was wrong. Evelyn kissed his forehead and said, Everything, baby. Everything just changed. The next morning, Evelyn sat in the lawyer's office downtown, the letter clutched like proof she wasn't dreaming. The man behind the polished desk smiled kindly. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman, he said. She left everything to you and your children. Evelyn's throat tightened. She barely knew me, she murmured. The lawyer nodded. She said she admired your strength, even from afar. By the time she left, Evelyn had plans forming in her mind, plans that had nothing to do with revenge. That night, she knelt beside Noah's bed. You're going to have the best care, my angel, she promised. Everything you ever needed. His eyes glistened, as if he understood. Within a week, Evelyn had moved into a sprawling modern home overlooking the bay. Wide hallways, an elevator, therapy room, and nurses who adored Noah. The first night there, she wheeled him into a sunlit room full of new equipment. Welcome home, she said softly. He blinked, tapping the small button on his communication device. Beautiful, it said in the robotic voice. Evelyn's heart swelled. You like it? You happy? Came the next question. She smiled through tears. Yes, baby. For the first time in a long time. Days turned into weeks, and Evelyn began rebuilding her life. She met financial advisors, property managers, and foundation directors who had once worked for her grandmother. Her lawyer told her, Your grandmother was strict in her will. She wanted this fortune used to help you, and to protect your family from exploitation. Evelyn nodded, understanding. She remembered Damien's last words about being done with responsibility. A quiet fire grew inside her. Not revenge, something sharper. Justice wrapped in peace. One evening, scrolling online, Evelyn froze. A photo of Damien and Leah beamed from a social post. Engaged. The caption read, New beginnings with my forever love. Evelyn laughed softly. Forever? Let's see how long that lasts, she said to the empty room. She had learned that Damien's new job, courtesy of Leah's family, was at a struggling investment firm. Irony, she thought, because that firm rented 3 office floors in one of her newly inherited buildings. She didn't say a word. She simply signed the renewal contract as owner, smiling when she saw Damien's digital signature below hers. When her property manager asked if she'd like to increase rent slightly, she replied, "Just a small raise." Enough to make them feel it. He chuckled, unaware of the history. "You sure are calm for someone stepping into this empire." Evelyn's gaze turned distant. "Calm is power," she said. The wedding invitation arrived weeks later. Gold edges, expensive paper, written like an announcement to the world. "Leah Carter and Damien Moore request the honor of your presence." Evelyn stared at it for a long time, then smirked. She called the number at the bottom. Leah's familiar voice answered, uneasy. "Evelyn." "Yes," she said evenly. "I got the invitation. I'd like to come." Silence. "I didn't think you'd want to," Leah stammered. "I want closure," Evelyn lied. "You two deserve to start fresh without bitterness." Leah exhaled in relief. "Oh, Evie, that means so much. Maybe after the wedding we can be friends again." Evelyn smiled faintly. "Maybe." The wedding day dawned clear and golden. Evelyn dressed in soft gray silk, her hair in a sleek twist, her grandmother's diamond earrings catching the light. She looked effortlessly elegant, like someone who belonged among the rich. At the reception hall, a lavish country club, heads turned as she entered. Whispers fluttered. "Isn't that Damien's ex-wife?" someone murmured. "She looks incredible." Evelyn ignored them and took her seat quietly near the back. When Damien saw her, his face went pale. Leah gripped his hand nervously. "Why is she here?" he hissed. "Relax," Leah whispered. "She said she's at peace." "Peace," he muttered. "She looks like she owns the place." Evelyn's calm smile met his from across the room. That, she thought, is the look of a woman who survived fire and learned how to dance in the ashes. After the ceremony, the reception buzzed with laughter and music until Leah's father, Mr. Carter, tapped a glass. "Before we celebrate," he began, "I have something to share." His expression was tight. Damien shifted uneasily. Evelyn folded her hands, her heart steady. "I recently investigated some personal matters about my future son-in-law," Mr. Carter continued. Murmurs spread through the crowd. "I discovered Mr. Moore was dismissed from his previous job weeks before his divorce, not promoted as he claimed." Gasps rippled. Damien tried to rise, but Mr. Carter lifted a hand. "He also carries over $80,000 in hidden debt. And worst of all," his voice hardened, "he signed away his parental rights to his disabled child to avoid responsibility." The room went silent. Leah's eyes widened in horror. "Dad, stop," she whispered. "No," he said. "The truth matters." He turned to the guests. "That child's name is Noah. His mother, Evelyn Moore, is sitting right there." All eyes turned to her. Evelyn didn't flinch. She met Leah's tearful gaze with calm certainty. Whispers erupted. "He abandoned a disabled child," someone gasped. "And she's here?" Damien's face burned red. "You set me up," he shouted at Evelyn. "You planned this." Evelyn rose slowly, her voice quiet but strong. "No, Damien. I didn't have to plan anything. You exposed yourself." Leah turned to her father. "Dad, please." But he wasn't done. "One more thing," Mr. Carter said. 3 days after the divorce, Evelyn inherited an $80 million estate. She now owns this very building and the company that employs you. The crowd gasped louder than before. Damien's jaw dropped. "What?" he choked. She's lying." "It's true," Mr. Carter said grimly. "Evelyn Moore is one of the wealthiest private property owners in the state." Leah covered her face and sobbed. "You knew," she whispered to Damien. "You left her for me, when she had all that?" Damien's voice cracked. "I didn't know. She hid it." Evelyn shook her head. "I found out hours after you left. You didn't lose me because I was poor, Damien. You lost me because you were small." Mr. Carter's tone turned icy. "The partnership between our families is cancelled. The firm is finished, and Evelyn now owns our debt. You two have destroyed yourselves." He turned and walked away, leaving stunned silence behind. Damien looked at Evelyn helplessly. "You did this," he whispered. "No," she said. You did this when you kissed my friend in my driveway. She walked out as murmurs swirled around her, the cool night air welcoming her freedom. News of the ruined wedding spread quickly. Social media buzzed with whispers about the woman whose husband left her for a friend, only to find she was a secret millionaire. Evelyn ignored all of it. She spent her days focused on Noah, his therapy, his laughter, his growth. But the satisfaction of truth lingered in her chest like quiet thunder. Weeks later, Damien began sending messages. At first angry. You embarrassed me. You planned it. Then desperate. I miss Noah. Please let me see him. Evelyn never responded. She had lawyers now, and a fortress of calm built around her life. Leah's messages came next, full of apologies and regret. I was jealous, Evie. I thought you had it easy. I'm sorry. Evelyn deleted them all, without reading further. Instead of bitterness, she chose purpose. She used part of her inheritance to start the Noah Foundation, a charity for families raising children with disabilities. It provided therapy, equipment, and housing support. The first event drew hundreds. Evelyn stood on stage beside Noah, who used his device to say, "Thank you for helping kids like me." The crowd erupted in applause. Evelyn wiped her tears. This was the legacy she wanted. Television shows and newspapers begged for interviews. Evelyn agreed to one. The reporter asked, "How did it feel to lose everything and gain it back overnight?" Evelyn smiled. "I didn't gain everything overnight. I learned who I was overnight." The clip went viral. People called her the woman who turned betrayal into purpose. Damien watched that interview from his small rented room. The light flickered on his tired face. He whispered, "What have I done?" His phone buzzed an eviction notice. The company he worked for had gone bankrupt. Leah had left, taking what little they had. The world had moved on without him. Leah, too, had fallen. Her father's firm collapsed after the wedding scandal. She moved across the country under a new name, working in a retail store, her old life gone. She sent one last message to Evelyn months later. "I think about Noah every day. I'm sorry." Evelyn's heart softened for a moment, but stayed steady. She pressed delete. Some forgiveness is silence. Years passed. Noah grew taller, stronger, smarter. His therapists called him brilliant. He began drawing on a tablet, creating digital art with his adapted device. One day he showed Evelyn a piece, a bright image of a woman standing between two storm clouds, holding a little boy's hand. He had titled it My Safe Place. Evelyn cried. "That's me?" He tapped yes. At 15, Noah began giving talks through his voice device at schools about inclusion. "People like me don't need pity," his device said. "We need access and love." The audience always stood to applaud. Evelyn sat in the back each time, her pride glowing like sunrise. Damien tried again when Noah turned 16. He mailed a birthday card with a note. "I think of you every day. I want to meet you." Evelyn placed it in a drawer unopened. She had promised herself that Noah would never feel confusion about love. He already had all he needed. When Noah asked about his father, Evelyn told him the truth gently. "He left when you were little. He wasn't ready to be the kind of man we needed." Noah thought for a moment, then typed, "That's his loss." Evelyn smiled. "Yes, baby. It is." At 17, Noah's art gained attention online. Companies reached out to feature his work. "I want to design for people like me," he told his mother one evening. "Technology that listens better." Evelyn kissed his forehead. "And you will." The foundation grew into a national movement. Evelyn opened centers in several cities, each named the Noah Center for Adaptive Technology. She became a quiet symbol of resilience, never bitter, always purposeful. One morning, while reading emails, Evelyn found one marked from Damien. Her hand hesitated before clicking. It read, "I'm sick. I have no one. Please let me see him once before I die." She stared at it for a long time, torn between memory and mercy. Finally, she whispered, "No." She forwarded it to her lawyer. "Block him permanently." That night she stood by Noah's bedside, watching him sleep peacefully. "You saved me," she whispered. "You don't even know how much." The boy stirred slightly, his breathing calm. She thought of all the nights she'd cried beside his crib, wondering if life would ever be kind. Now it was not perfect, but good. 5 years later, the Noah Foundation hosted its largest gala yet. Celebrities, business leaders, and families filled the grand hall. Evelyn wore a silver gown, her hair streaked with gentle gray now. She looked elegant, powerful, content. Noah, 21, sat beside her, handsome and confident. When he rolled onto the stage to speak, his voice device echoed across the hall. "My father once said I was a burden," he began. "But my mom taught me I was a blessing." The audience grew silent, listening to the rhythm of resilience. Love doesn't walk away when life gets hard. It stays. It fights. And it builds. The crowd rose in applause. In the back of the room, unnoticed, a thin man stood leaning on the wall, Damien. His eyes glistened as he watched his grown son shine. Security quietly approached and asked him to leave. He nodded, whispering, "I just needed to see him once." Outside, he sat on the steps and wept until the night swallowed him whole. Later that evening, Evelyn stood under the stars outside the hall, breathing the cool air. She didn't know Damien had been there, but maybe some part of her felt it, the strange quiet of final closure. She whispered, "I forgive you, not for you, but for us." Then she turned back toward the lights where her son laughed with his friends. Years continued to unfold. Noah graduated with honors in computer science, his thesis on assistive technology earning global recognition. As he rolled across the stage to receive his degree, Evelyn clapped so hard her hands hurt. "That's my boy," she whispered. Reporters asked for comments afterward. Evelyn said simply, "My son was never a burden. He was the reason I became who I am." Noah smiled and typed on his device, "She's my hero." The crowd melted. That night, back home, Evelyn sat on the balcony overlooking the city lights. She thought of the girl she had been, the exhausted wife, the heartbroken mother, the woman who almost gave up. Then she thought of the woman she had become, calm, powerful, unshaken. "Sometimes," she whispered, "losing everything saves you." Inside, Noah laughed at something on his tablet. The sound filled the house with warmth. Evelyn closed her eyes, smiling. She no longer needed revenge or recognition. She had peace. And somewhere out there, the ghosts of her past had faded into silence. She looked at her son and whispered, "We won, baby. We truly won." And please don't forget to tap the bell so every new folktale reaches you first. Tell us in the comments what you think about the story. And tell us where you're watching from. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this beautiful story with friends, family, and loved ones so they too can remember.